The Great Lakes are a source of drinking water for millions of people, so a major oil spill could be disastrous. Are we ready to deal with one? Producer David J. Ruck sought to find out what's being done to prepare.
In September of 2023, the U.S. Coast Guard was in the Straits of Mackinac, along with partners from the U.S. Navy and specialists in spill response, testing their oil spill preparedness in the event of a worst-case scenario. Rob McClellan is with the Navy's Supervisor of Salvage, or SUPSALV, which maintains much of the response equipment deployed by the government during a spill.
We are doing a joint training exercise with the Coast Guard on open water oil spill collection equipment. What we brought was a current buster, and what it's used for is open ocean spills. They were used extensively in the Deepwater Horizon spill and was able to be attached to a vessel, in this case a Coast Guard 225.
This exercise isn't just about equipment. It's about rethinking response strategies and exploring what's at stake in a freshwater spill, where threats are unique and the stakes are high.
It is definitely a different operational environment, and it caused us to rethink actions and operations that we probably had taken for granted in the ocean, and now we have to rethink about how those deployments are going to be done here.
Most spills happen in salt water, so skills and experience needed to respond in a freshwater environment are thin by comparison. And unlike the ocean, the Great Lakes are a source of drinking water for millions of people. Additionally, unique economic, cultural, and environmental considerations make freshwater response in the Great Lakes a daunting challenge on multiple fronts. U.S. Senator Gary Peters became aware of these challenges after the 2010 Deepwater Horizon spill in the Gulf of Mexico. What if this happened in the Great Lakes?
I had the Commandant of the Coast Guard testify before my committee, and I asked him how confident was he that they could clean up a major oil spill in the Great Lakes. And he was very clear that he is not confident at all. He says the techniques aren't there, the training isn't there, and he would not feel comfortable with a major oil spill.
It was 2017 when Admiral Zukampft, then Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard, confirmed the senator's worst fears.
I cannot state with any degree of reliability that we have the technology right now to be able to recover that and mitigate that before it would truly cause downstream and environmental harm.
It's certainly my hope that we can continue to work together and perhaps look at how we can marshal resources in public-private partnerships, as well as involving the academic community to do more research on oil spill cleanup in the freshwater setting, because unfortunately we're likely to be confronted with these incidents, and they may increase with time.
Following these revelations, Senator Peters pushed legislation to address these gaps, which resulted in the establishment of the Great Lakes Oil Spill Center of Expertise. Led by the U.S. Coast Guard, with partners in research and industry, the center would focus solely on the science and strategies needed to better understand freshwater spills.
We were able to get legislation in and passed to create the Center of Expertise. And what they're going to do is learn more and train more to be prepared to clean up spills in freshwater, and in particular here in the Great Lakes.
Jerome Popeil, the Incident Management and Preparedness Advisor for the Coast Guard's 9th District in Cleveland, explains how the new center coordinates with other agencies to strengthen preparedness, specifically in the Great Lakes.
Senator Peters engaged with our Coast Guard headquarters and came up with a plan to have this Great Lakes Center of Expertise to basically target the need for science, technology, testing, and evaluation of oil spill response tactics in freshwater. What they did was first interview who's who in the zoo of preparedness, response, research and development internationally. So they talked to Coast Guard and EPA, talked to state, talked to tribes, county EMAs, talked to NOAA, essentially all the partners that we typically work with in spill preparedness and response.
Lieutenant Commander Kip Pace leads the new Center of Expertise, located on the campus of Lake Superior State University.
The Coast Guard's Great Lakes Oil Spill Center of Expertise is wholly devoted to this mission. We can work with industry in a more collaborative way to talk best practices for everyone who's doing this mission. We can talk to our industry partners, academia, and the things that we find, recommendations that we have, can be enacted in Coast Guard policy immediately.
Dr. Ashley Morkey, a researcher at Lake Superior State University's Center for Freshwater Research and Education, underscores the importance of understanding the Great Lakes' unique characteristics, particularly in extreme conditions like winter ice.
Really, we're in our infancy in terms of building the support structure and the infrastructure, but that's also true of the science of oil in fresh water. And so the projects that we're trying to support through Lake Superior State University and our collaborators is starting to address that, thinking about how we can detect oil early and how we can understand how it's moving and behaving in fresh water, particularly in cold water systems and under ice, but also understanding what are the most vulnerable parts of our Great Lakes ecosystem if a spill were to occur, so we can help target our efforts more effectively.
Dr. Kenneth Lee is a senior advisor on oil spill research, preparedness, and response for the Canadian government.
One of the things you have to realize is, up until now, most of the focus on oil spills has been on marine oil spills because everybody thinks about disasters and tankers. We haven't thought that much about oil spills in fresh waters, but the impacts could be major. You have to remember, we're dependent on fresh waters for drinking water, and there's a lot of socioeconomic benefits that we would worry about if there was damage from an oil spill.
Great Lakes freighters move millions of tons of cargo each year and carry tens of thousands of gallons of diesel or other fuel. Oil pipelines zigzag above, under, around, and near these bodies of water. Refineries dot the coastline. While these are critical economic forces, they also carry the potential for a major spill.
The work that we are doing is addressing some of the biggest challenges related to oil spills in fresh water.
In the event of a spill, the Coast Guard oversees the response and leads a unified command system. This might include local authorities and other agencies, but the work of the cleanup falls on the responsible party and their approved plan for such an incident.
As a regulatory entity, our job is really to make sure that a potential responsible party is able to clean up a spill.
The responsible party is responsible for enacting the response. The Coast Guard is there to oversee that and make sure that they do what the law says. So it's a big job, but the responsible party is really on the hook.
One responsible party that's faced intense scrutiny is Enbridge, whose Line 5 pipeline runs through the Straits of Mackinac. A spill from Line 5 could have catastrophic effects, so the state of Michigan and Senator Peters have insisted that Enbridge reduce its risk. In response, Enbridge has invested millions into its safety operation in the Straits.
This is the Operations Center watch room. The biggest threat to our pipeline is an anchor strike, and we were specifically built for protecting the pipeline from anchor strikes or any damage from passing ships, and we maintain a watch 24/7. The Coast Guard established this regulated navigation area so that people do not anchor in the vicinity or near the pipeline.
Through the Operations Center, Enbridge helps enforce safe transit of the Coast Guard's special navigation area near the pipeline, automated notifications to vessel traffic, and constant monitoring by staff, including many former Coast Guard, ensure no one enters the area while unknowingly dragging an anchor.
As a ship enters the Straits of Mackinac, we send a AIS message to the ship's navigation system advising them that they're entering a no anchor zone. Our watchstander acknowledges it and starts tracking that vessel from the time it enters the Straits, crosses over the pipeline, and exits the Straits on the other side. If there is an unsafe condition, our watchstander is empowered to call the Enbridge Control Center and initiate a shutdown of the Line 5.
Shipping companies are also responsible parties, so like Enbridge, they're required to have an approved response plan, which lays out how a responsible party will take action in the event of an emergency or spill. Interlake Steamship Company operates the largest privately held U.S. flag fleet on the Great Lakes. If a spill were to occur, a responsible party like Enbridge or Interlake might play a role in responding, but most often, this work is done by an oil spill removal organization, or OSRO, under contract with the responsible party. One OSRO that works with both Interlake and Enbridge is Marine Pollution Control. Bill Hazel is the company's president.
Response is built in the United States as a partnership between responsible parties, regulatory bodies, in their case the Coast Guard, and then response organizations such as Marine Pollution Control. It all comes down to what people put into the plan. What Interlake would do on any kind of incident that they have is they open the book. So it's extremely regimented. It starts from their plan, which identifies the procedures and protocol for calling out all the response agencies and the parties that need to be notified.
Katie Wells is Interlake's environmental officer.
It's called activating your plan. In fact, Coast Guard will say, have you activated your plan? Our master is a board, so they are in charge. They are given the authority of this vessel, of the people on it. They are the ultimate command. And their job is to make that phone call to our designated person ashore. I'm getting notified immediately. I'm contacting our OSRO.
Rachel Wellman understands that the responsible party is most often the first to be on scene in the event of a spill. With expertise gained in her previous career as a commissioned officer in the Coast Guard, she now coordinates Enbridge training and response exercises.
We have an incident management team that focuses on the overall management and coordination of incidents, and then we have what we call field response teams deploying equipment if there ever is an incident. We do that to optimize response times in the event that there is an incident.
In most cases, though, the bulk of the response will come from an OSRO.
We don't own skimmers. We do own boom and different immediate spill response equipment that we can immediately deploy in the event that we were to have an incident. But I'm relying on Marine Pollution Control to provide me with the skimmers and the educated personnel that know how to watch for the currents and the wind conditions and take all these other factors into place to give us the best possible outcome.
What you have to have is open-minded, appropriately motivated people that want to do it the right way, that we're all interested in forwarding that response network.
At a recent ceremony to officially commission the Great Lakes Center of Expertise, Captain Justin Peters, the United States Coast Guard's Deputy Director of Emergency Management, spoke about the work being done and the work ahead for the center.
In the 2 short years since the crew's been here in place, they've accomplished a great deal. They've acquired cutting-edge, uncrewed systems, developed training and deployment protocols that have improved oil spill response capabilities throughout the Great Lakes region, and those are exportable too.
For all its focus on spill and emergency response, the U.S. Coast Guard can make no judgment call on the merits of oil-related products or infrastructure on or near the Great Lakes. Their job is simply to know that it's there and how best to respond to a worst-case scenario. What we do know, transportation and use of these products is demanded by our current way of life. Until there is significant change of course in that regard, spills remain an accepted risk.
What keeps me up at night is certainly what we call an all-hands-on-deck event, and that would be the catastrophic incident. I can sleep at night because I know that we've done our due diligence and done our best to be as prepared as we can. But if you say what keeps me up at night is the fact that these things can still happen.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out our YouTube channel for even more Great Lakes Now. See you out on the lakes.